So the hearing notice was 7:10. That's when we started the hearing, but I believe the motion to continue was till 7 o'clock.
So we don't have to reread the notice?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Yep, you're just picking up an opened public hearing.
Okay.
There's Bill.
I'm in.
All that shuffling.
Sorry.
Wally.
Yes.
It's likely Kyle will not be in, so just make sure you note that Bill is acting in Kyle's place tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever you guys are ready to start, we're all set.
Go, Wally, go.
Thank you, Pam. Welcome to the Sutton Planning Board meeting at 7 o'clock on the 17th of August, 2020. And before I want to read a statement regarding remotely conducted open meetings. This open meeting of the Sutton Planning Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the breakout of the COVID-19 virus. While still ensuring public access, this order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. You can find the order posted on the town's website. Regardless of our inability to meet in person, it is our intent to ensure continued transparency and the ability of the public to at least view the actions of our board. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless the participation is required by law. Tonight's public meeting will not feature public comment. Okay. For this meeting, the Sutton Planning Board is convened by a Zoom teleconference as specified on the legally posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and that you take care not to quote unquote screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. And before we get started, one of our members is not present here tonight, but our alternate is, and that's Bill Talcott. And so he'll be acting in the place of Kyle Bergeron and with full voting capability. Yes, Jen.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to note, I forgot to revise your meeting statement there. Because we have a public hearing scheduled tonight, this meeting will feature public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I used the wrong schedule here.
I gave you the wrong one, sorry.
Okay. All righty. So the first item on the agenda, which was a continuation from our previous meeting, is a 126 Worcester Providence Turnpike, a special permit and site plan approval for the Old Farm Woodworking Retail Store. Jen, could you bring us up to date on that one?
Sure, absolutely. I believe Mr. Zanotti is present, and Mr. Zanotti is the proponent on this application. And I am going to share to the screen the revised site plan, which has been provided by the applicant. So you can see, let me see if I can shrink this down at all. Here, come on, that would just be too easy for me to be able to shrink it down. So I'll scroll. Mr. Donati has provided this revised site plan that, hold on a minute, oh, there we go. There we go.
Good.
Mr. Zanotti, if you just want to introduce yourself and then just kind of walk the board through this revised site plan.
Hi, I'm Len Zanotti, 126 Worcester Providence Turnpike. Just wanted to open up a store or storefront for a hobby business, by appointment only. I guess the view we're seeing now is the storefront with the handicap parking and other parking along with the driveway. Like I said, it's good. I don't know what else you're looking for from me.
All right, Mr. Zanotti, let me also share the locust plan. All right, so this is the locust plan, so you kind of get an idea of where this is. So as you can see, the site is located. The road in this lower part of the site is Marble Road. This is Marble Road as it continues across the highway. This is the former Worms Way site, which is now Radon Systems, and the appliance store, Manny's Appliance. And this is John's Auto. So the applicant has provided information on the regulations for the district. They have provided parking calculations that show they need about 3 spaces and they're providing 4. And then, as Mr. Zanotti noted, they have provided this site plan that shows the layout of the handicap space as requested by a meeting between Mr. Zanotti and the building commissioner. So the building commissioner did come to the site, and he did say that bathrooms are not required in this building, but that handicap parking is required. He had some reservations about a handicap space in front of the building or to this side of the building. So he suggested one to this side, and Mr. Zanotti has already established that spot. It just needs to be checked by the building commissioner tomorrow. But he was pretty confident it could be properly established. So again, a more proper site plan has been presented with all the abutters noted. A deed has been provided that states all the meets and bounds and bearings and easements. And you are, I think, in a position, if you're comfortable, unless you have some additional questions, to act on some waiver requests that have been presented and to decide if the use is appropriate and act on that special permit request and decide if site plan review is appropriate. If you decide to act on that, you just need to condition that on final building department approval.
Through Mr. Chairman, this is Bob Largis, and so the board members can make comments. I'll make a motion that we move on this request for Old Farm Woodworking, the retail sale. Leonard, I want to thank you for coming in and trying to do everything right and stepping into the world of the planning board lives in. And you addressed everything that we asked you to address. So anyone that has a home and wants to have a business in their home on 146, there aren't many left. They've raised the bar to make sure this can happen. I appreciate the building inspector helping us to move forward. So I'm very comfortable with this moving off our agenda, so he can open up his business that'll have not a whole big traffic generator on 146. I wish us wildly success and have to buy a building and move on, but a great place to start.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And then we can have board comments.
Do we have a second to that motion?
We actually need to finish, we need to go back to the findings first before you
Okay.
get a second or we complete that
Oh, okay.
motion. I'm sorry to derail you.
Ready.
If you take a look at your minutes from the last meeting, there were 2 findings you were not able to make. The first finding was relative to, hold on, let me just pull the minutes. Sorry about that.
Get it right here.
All right, the first finding was, and Scott Paul, I believe, voiced these findings. The board found that the proposed retail use within the business district was an appropriate use for the site. The board found that they needed to know whether code requires a bathroom use for this site. Ms. Carnes noted the septic had just passed Title V inspection last June. So now you can make a new finding on number 2 that you have found that a bathroom is not required for this site and that the septic and water are adequate. So that's the first finding you need to redo. Number 3, you found that the business with limited customers would likely be no detriment to the neighborhood. So you're good there. And then number 4, the board found they were uncomfortable with the flow of traffic into, on, and out of this property, wanted to see a clearer plan, which you now have. You don't have the traffic flow on here, but we'll take a look at the site plan again in a sec. And Ms. Carnes noted they could put up some signage and that customers would be calling so they could talk to them in advance. So if you look at the site plan, I'm going to call that back up. And when you look at that site plan, here we go. Let me show that to you again. You'll see there are sign locations on the site plan, one here and one here.
Okay.
And those are proposed locations for signage that would direct these people to back out and enter the roadway in a forward direction. And this sign on one side would say right turn only, and on the other sign would be the advertising sign. So that is, that addresses that 4th comment. And then the 5th one, can you comply with building code? Now we've talked to the building commissioner and he says he believes they will be compliant with building code. But you know, because the building commissioner has not inspected the new space Len put in yet, even though they talked at length about how it should be done, and I'm sure Len did it that way, you should just make any action conditional on final building commissioner approval. So we just need a new finding for number 2 and a new finding for number 4, and then we can proceed to approval of the special permit for the use with any conditions you want, and then on to site plan approval and any conditions that you want. Okay, we good?
Okay,
I got
so
it. So the special permit for the use, I concur for the findings in our bylaws on page 136, the adequacy of public sewage and water systems.
Okay, so I'm gonna put in the minutes that the board now finds that they don't need a bathroom and therefore the sewer and water are adequate. Okay, and then number 4, are you comfortable with the flow of traffic noting the addition of the signage?
As long as that sign is clear coming down the driveway. I did take a look at it yesterday. That was me backing up your driveway, Mr. Donnie. Backing up, going down, backing up, going down. As long as there's signage there, the best place to be the signage would probably be on the adjoining lot, the carved lot, would be right in your face. But I'd be happy with, as long as it's, no left turn, as long as it's clear that the traffic obviously can only take a right, but I just hate to be on the hook down the road for some elderly person going down there and getting confused. I'd be happy with that.
Good.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments on these 2 items?
So number 4, I'm gonna mark that the board's finding that they think the traffic in terms of pedestrian and car safety with appropriate signage is safe or compliant with appropriate signage.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is no pedestrian traffic.
No. All right. So now that you have findings on 1 through 5, now you can proceed, if you wish, to vote to grant the special permit for the retail use with any conditions you want. And then we'll go to the site plan approval motion and any conditions you want on that. So think about any conditions you think are specific to the use, if any. And then we're going to do waivers before we do site plan approval. So unless you want to do waivers first.
Well,
I'm ready to remake my motion to move this forward.
For the special permit for use?
The special permit, yep.
Okay, and do you want any conditions on the special permit for the use only?
We've got to have I think the signs have to be clear on the property that you can only make a right-hand turn when you exit this property.
And that you should be exiting in a forward direction, not backing into John's Auto or the highway?
Right, signage needs to be real clear. In
Okay.
case you're from 146, but I can't imagine how you could, but like, as Bill said, we have to make sure we've done everything we can to make sure no one takes a left-hand turn.
All right. And then so signs have to be in and approved by the board clear before opening. And then you want the standard condition about the approval of all other applicable departments, including the building department?
Yes.
And that'll cover the building inspector with the
Yep.
with the handicapped access.
Yep. All right, so that's your motion, Bob?
Yes.
I'll
Need a
second that.
Thank you.
Scott, second?
does anyone have any comment on this? Beyond what we've already discussed, any of the board members? Is there anyone out there in the general public that would like to comment on this?
We have somebody at TE 316487. Is that person here for this meeting? You can unmute and let us know if you are. And we have 774 303, which kind of looks like Mike Simmons' phone, but I'm not sure. If somebody could just verify that. Otherwise, we don't have anybody else on this meeting.
Hi, Jennifer. The 303 number is Matt Gotro.
Oh, Matt, excellent.
Okay.
All right, so that's for Barnett Road.
That's
Okay,
right.
so I don't know who the TE 316 is, but if they're not unmuted, Paul Schaefer from next door. Paul, I don't know if Paul's here about this, but I'm confident Paul knows how to unmute if he is here for this. All right, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I guess it's now time for our vote. The chair votes yes. Bob?
This is Bob Lodges. My vote is yes.
Michael?
Mike Gagan, yes.
Scott?
Paul, no.
Bill Talcott?
Bill Talcott, yes.
Okay. The vote then is 3-1 and nobody abstained.
That was 4. We have 4
Oh,
members?
I mean, sorry, 4. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, and Scott, do you want me to note the reason for your no vote?
I don't think it's an appropriate use for the highway business.
Okay, just due to safety or?
Yes, safety, and I'm not sure I can agree with all the variances we've granted.
Oh,
A precedent for business highway use.
all right, so we do actually have to go through those waivers now in advance of granting site plan approval. So I'm gonna pull those all up to the screen so we can take a look at those. All right.
We have to vote to approve all those. Shouldn't that have come first?
You were just voting on the appropriateness of the use for location. So you can vote these before the use, or you have to vote them before site plan approval. But it's not necessarily required before you vote whether the use is appropriate at the location or not. All right, so this is the request for waivers. So we respectfully request the following waivers from the provisions of site plan review and parking regs. This is an existing site and building with no changes proposed other than signage. As stated, the use will be by appointment only, so we can and will limit the number of customers to no more than 2 to 3 at a time to maintain traffic safety on and exiting the site. Thank you for your consideration, Leonard and Teresa, and here are your waiver requests. So the first, so you can vote these as a group, you can vote them individually, but let's just go through each of them. So 4B, the plan was not prepared by an engineer or other professional. 4D, the lot lines, bearings, the line bearings, easements, and lot area are shown on the deed that was submitted. No changes are proposed to these elements. So they're not shown on the plan, they're shown in the deed because the plan wasn't prepared by a surveyor. Height is not shown as the building already exists and no changes are proposed. Proposed signage detail is not shown, but we are happy to provide this prior to building it, or the signage, I assume. Utility locations are not shown, but no changes are proposed. Stormwater details are not provided, but no changes are proposed. Topography is not shown, but no changes are proposed. Landscaping is not shown, but no changes are proposed. Architecture is not shown, as no changes are proposed. And then for parking, loading, and landscaping, 3 of the 4 parking spaces are located within the side yard step backs. We wish to maintain them in these locations as they've been there, I assume, and have caused no issues to abutters to date. And we request a waiver from having to provide a loading space, as we will not be receiving deliveries of materials or products for sale, as they will be made at the site in small quantities. So those are the waivers they requested. They provided everything else, and I did double check the other sections and provisions they're not requesting waivers from. So you can take them one at a time, you can group them together, however you want to proceed.
Well, I don't know. Scott, you have some issues with some of these waivers in the particular ones, or is there a group of them we could reach agreement on?
Well, from my perspective, we could agree to them all.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering, so as a question, Jen, how come this is not able to be a home business?
They are located in the business highway district, and if you look at our zoning bylaws, home businesses are prohibited in the business highway district because homes are prohibited in the business highway district. So this house is a pre-existing non-conforming business, but you're not able to, even through the Zoning Board of Appeals, to apply for a use that is not otherwise allowed in the district. That would be a use variance, and use variances are prohibited. They're illegal in the town of Sutton.
That answers that.
So yeah, in any other case, this is clearly a home business. It's just not allowed in this district.
And so to me, it's a home business that's in a highway, that's in an area that's not allowed. And all these variances and all the things we're looking at, to me, are perfectly fine for a home business, which is not allowed in the highway, on the highway.
This is Bob Vargas, and I appreciate Scott with the no vote, because we want the minutes to reflect that we recognize this is a very different situation, that this homeowner with a home business in the wrong zone that we created, and that's why I'm comfortable to move. He did everything right that he should have, that most people wouldn't do. He could have done this on the internet. We've never even heard about him.
Right.
He tried to do everything he could right. And Scott, with a no vote, recognized that it's a very different situation. There aren't a whole lot of other houses left on 146. And if they do decide to do the same thing, we'll have to address each one individually, but unless someone buys his property and a whole bunch of other properties, it's just not, all our stuff isn't applicable for him in a business. So that's why I'm very comfortable with the letters, all the notice that you brought up, Jen. And I'm comfortable to move forward.
And I think you made that point well, Bob. That's probably exactly why I'm doing this. So, I don't have a problem with it overall, but I don't want to see, too much of it. So I would say all these variances are fine. If we want to approve, I make a motion. I'm not going to make a motion, but I think that should go forward. That's fine.
I'll make that motion.
So do you want to approve all of the waiver requests as a group, or split them into site plan and parking, or how do you want to do it?
I'm willing to make a motion that we approve all the site plan notes that were met here, 4B, 4D, 4E, 4H, 4I, 4J, 4K, 4L, and 4P, plus the parking loading and landscaping regulations 1 and 3I.
Okay, so all waivers as requested.
Yes. Need a second.
I'll
Do we have a
second that.
second? Okay.
Mike Gagan?
Yeah, Mike Gagan, second that.
Okay, I'm going to go back to you guys.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Chairman, so you got a
Right.
motion and a second.
Yeah. Mike, do you have any comments on this particular motion?
No, I think Bob laid it out pretty well. I think he's done a lot of due diligence. When I first looked at it a few weeks ago, I thought that the store was actually going to be located further back up the driveway. I kind of like that it's closer down to 146 where it is being shown. So I wish him well.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have any comments?
I just a general comment this is maybe for Jen, from what happens when Mr. Zanotti sells his property, and what effect does that have on a go-forward basis?
Well, the special permit is attached to the land, and I would assume that in site plan review, you will be very specific in terms of, by appointment only, a maximum of so many customers. You could have done that in special permit as well, but as long as it's in one of the approvals, you're good. That will run with the land.
Right.
And so it will apply to anybody moving in. So they could continue the use. If they discontinue it for more than 2 years, it's gone. They're done.
So does it have to be the similar use, or can be
It
any
has to
home?
be identical. It has to be identical to the permit you're granting tonight. So they could do woodworking, and they could have by appointment only up to 2 or 3 customers. But if they try to change it to something else, they have to come back in for their own special permits and their own details. And so, yes.
And somewhere in our purview here, it mentions woodworking.
Yeah. And if you go from one type of retail to another, like woodworking to stained glass, usually the building commissioner will not make you get a new permit for that. But if you go from like woodworking to nail salon, that's not retail to retail. Or woodworking to socks, that's still retail to retail, but it would still carry the same restrictions. By appointment only, no more than 2 to 3 customers. And so they would be restricted to that unless they come back into the board. And I would suggest if you condition the site plan like that as well, even Mr. Zanotti, if he retires and it booms and he wants to open it up more, will need to come back to you as well.
Okay, I'd be comfortable with that.
Mhm. I'd like to thank Scott and Bob for their observations and their experience in dealing with issues like this, because we want to be able to provide people with the opportunity to do business, but we don't want to set precedents that are going to come back and bite us in 10 years or some period of time. But this looks like it's specifically for Mr. Zanotti and meets all those particular requirements. So now I guess, Scott, do you have anything additional you want to say?
I don't.
Okay, Bob?
Oh,
Okay, so why don't we have a vote? We'll start with Bob.
Bob Largis, my vote is aye.
Scott?
Nay.
Michael?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Wally Baker, aye. So it's 4-1-0.
And that was on the waivers, and Scott, kind of the same
Right.
logic.
In logic.
Okay, so your last motion is to approve the site plan. And that one, I would recommend at a minimum, you do the same 2 conditions you did in the special permit, signage, and the approval of all other departments, including especially the building department. And that you also consider the by appointment only maximum of 2 to 3 customers at a time.
I'll make that motion, Jen.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
And we haven't heard from the applicant, Mr. Zanotti. Are you having any discomfort with anything the board's saying?
No, not at all. I'm just going along with everything, and I appreciate all your input, and I appreciate the yes vote too also. And I hope to see you all someday in the shop.
Call ahead.
But only half at one time.
By appointment only.
Yeah, only half of us.
All right, so
Jen.
that's motion by Bob with the 3 conditions, second by Mike Gagan. Any
Yeah.
public comment?
Jen, could I just add one piece there? When
Mhm.
you said limiting the amount of people to 2 or 3, should you make that a single number, like 3? I mean, I don't know.
Sure,
If you made 2 or
It's up
3,
to you.
I would make it just 3, not,
Okay.
no more than 3 rather than 2 to 3.
3 customers.
By appointment only.
By appointment only.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
That'll fill up the parking spaces, except for 1. Up to 3 customers at a time by appointment only. Okie dokie. I see the same people on the call still. So if Matt from down on Barnett Road or Mr. Schaefer from next door or TE 316 doesn't have anything to say,
Well,
Call the vote.
okay, let's have a vote. Bill?
Aye. Bill Talcott.
Okay, Bill Talcott was aye. Michael Gagan?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Scott Paul?
No.
Bob Largess?
Aye. Bob Largis.
Wally Baker, aye.
was that everybody?
Yeah, we had 4, 1, and 0
Okay,
was the vote.
all right. So motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, chair votes yes.
Bill Talcott.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
Okay, Mike,
Mike Gagan, yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bob?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, so
Good luck,
Mr.
Leonard.
Zanotti, your special permit and your site plan are approved with conditions. I will issue those decisions in writing to you within 14 days. It usually happens in just a few days.
Okay?
And the special permit will have to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The site plan review also goes on file with the town. And then you just need to touch base with the building commissioner and likely probably the fire department in the next, before you open up, and then just get me the drawings, just drawings of what the signs will look like.
Okay?
And we'll get those looked at and approved in advance of you building those.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, board, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Take
Good
care.
luck.
thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I guess the next item is Form A plans, and there are not any Form A plans.
Nope.
So we have a Chapter 61A release for Leland Hill / Dodge Hill Road.
Okay.
It is in our materials. And Jen, why don't you fill us in on the details of what we're supposed to do here?
Absolutely. I've got so much paper flying around. Okay, you have a letter, memo from the Board of Selectmen asking for the planning board's recommendation. You have a letter from Attorney Wickstrom saying that this release, and I'm gonna click onto it so you can see it. Let me make sure this is the right one. This might not be. Okay, hold on. Let me get you the right one. Hold on. This one. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. Okay, if we scroll down to the bottom of this one. All right, not trying to make you dizzy. Darn it, where is it? Where's the map? The map is not here. That's okay. Hold on a minute.
We have it.
I just want to show people where we're talking about, so just give me a sec. 2 seconds, I swear. Central Turnpike, local, USGS.
Jen, while you are looking for that, I have a question. Maybe someone can answer. Maybe yourself.
It's from,
Okay.
On the map that I'm looking at the map. How long ago was that subdivision approved that never got built?
Okay, this is the subdivision we're talking about. This is a 4-lot open space subdivision, so the lots are undersized. And then there's permanently or open space around it that will have to be permanently protected before they are allowed to get their first occupancy permit on any home there if they go through with this exact plan. They can decide to just use this as one house lot. I'm sorry, I'm like blanking. If they choose to use it as the open space subdivision, they have to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the approval that Bill asked for.
Well, but so
It was approved, let me see, I'm looking for the approval letter.
in general, I mean, it wasn't 30 years ago.
Oh gosh,
long?
no,
No.
it was
No, it's like
probably,
2 or
2 or
3.
3, Bill.
yeah.
Like 3 years, maybe? 2?
And,
Pretty
yeah,
recent.
okay, so I wasn't on the board at that time, so I assume this is in the open space subdivision where,
It is, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It is
So
an
you
open
gotta-
space.
so you get a 50-foot frontage in return to the open space behind it? Was that the general?
Yeah, well, you get a reduced lot size as little as 15,000 square feet, actually. You can have as little as 15,000 square feet in these subdivisions in exchange for the protected open space that is behind it.
So that protected open space, that still will remain and that's recorded in perpetuity, correct?
Yeah, and actually, we usually have them do what's called a CR, a conservation restriction, with the state. So you'll recall I prepared one for Leland Hill Estates up on Leland Hill Road, and I prepared one for Forest Edge, and both of those were accepted by the state. So we would prepare the same thing for this project if they confirm, the new owners confirm to me that they're going to move forward with this project the way you see it. Because it does take a lot of effort because I need to go out and walk all of this open space and photograph it and do an inventory. So I'm not going to do that unless they're actually going to proceed with this development. So the new owners need to let me know whether they're going to develop it as shown or whether they're just going to use it as one lot. And if they're just going to use it as one lot and they don't have to restrict it, that's only a condition of the open space subdivision permit.
And how long will is the approval active? Will it in
3 years. So we will be checking the absolute date on that to make sure they don't go, well, I shouldn't say that. The special permit is good for 3 years, but they also got definitive subdivision approval. So I still think they need to start the process within 3 years. But as you know, definitive subdivision plans are grandfathered for 8 years. So
Well, that I didn't know, but I do
yeah,
know.
definitive subdivision plans are 8 years grandfathering, but special permits are only 3 years. So I would say they need to get going within 3 years or ask for an extension on that permit. But their second approval, the definitive subdivision approval, which is kind of the roadway and all the waivers they got for the roadway, et cetera, those are good for 8 years.
But as a new owner could actually take this because it's being bought by a developer. There's access to Dodge Hill Road, and they could actually build this totally differently and build 4 house lots in here on the entire parcel.
Yeah, they could, but of course they have to go over this wetland, and this stream over here may be a perennial stream as well.
Right.
So the deal is they have applied to take this land out of Chapter 61A. And the process there is they provide a bona fide offer. The bona fide offer is $275,000. So the town either has to match that offer or they vote to pass over their first right of refusal. So the Board of Selectmen seek the Planning Board's recommendation and they seek the Conservation Commission's recommendation on this. We look to the open space plan. This is not on a priority list of parcels in our open space plan, primarily because it doesn't attach to other open space. And it's very steep. If I lay in the contours, you'll see this steep all in here. And where it's not steep, it's kind of wet. So it is not on our priority list of parcels for open space. So from a planner's perspective, it's not non-valuable open space. It's just not a priority for the town to own and control.
So I make a motion that we make a recommendation or a consideration to the selectmen that the town of Sutton not acquire this parcel from Chapter 61A.
Bob Largis is a second. I agree.
Okay. Do we have any board members want to make a comment? Mike?
No comments at this time.
Bill, did you get your questions answered?
I did, thank you, no comments.
Okay. Scott, do you have any comments?
Only if we could buy it for $50,000. Can we do that?
You got to match the offer.
Good try.
We don't have any money. Not a good time to buy.
Right. Well, I don't have any comments, and living in the general area, I can attest with Jen, that property is steep in the back there. It's pretty significant. And we went through a thorough review of this property, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, I would guess.
Right.
You know, to get it defined the way it is right now and for the buildable lots, and got all the department approvals. So I don't think the town, I would agree, I don't think the town should put this on its action item list at this point. Okay, so we'll have a vote. Bob Largis?
Aye.
Aye.
That aye is to pass on this parcel.
Okay. Michael?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Wally Baker, aye. So the vote is 5-0-0.
Okay, next.
Okay, next we have a prime metals visibility concerns. And I don't know if any of the board members got a chance to go down there and look at it, and see what it is. I know we have a gentleman on the phone, I guess, that is the individual that brought this situation to our attention. So could you just state your name and your address, please? When you,
Of course.
okay.
My name is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Matt Gotro. My address is 21 Barnett Road, I'm actually the TE 316487 as well, so I'll start my video. And I made a presentation to. I just stopped it. I made a presentation to go over, so I can share my screen if you like, and we can review it.
Okay, hold on just a second. Pam, can we give, you're the TE, Matt, you said?
Yes, I am. I just put my camera on.
Okay. Ah, hi, Matt.
Hello.
Okay, Pam, can you give Matt permission to share his screen? Pam is our,
I'm trying, hold on.
okay. This is a learning curve for all of us.
One of the other board meetings a few weeks ago, there was an incident with people putting stuff up on screen. So the town has taken action to try to limit this. That was an unwarranted intrusion, but
Yes. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not something that we want to do, then I can just describe the situation then.
Why doesn't he start, Jen, and I'll work on it. I'm trying
Okay.
to.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so I live essentially directly behind the factory, and I'm all for the factory construction. In fact, I'm the plant manager of 2 factories. So I applaud the bringing of the factory to the town. But the issue started when the factory painted a large orange stripe across the back of it. There is a partition in the property that talks about an area to block visibility and noise from the neighbors. However, it's a very thinly wooded area, and even in the summertime when the leaves are there, you can distinctly see the orange stripe from the house in the large building. And in the wintertime, it'll be very obvious. So what I've requested is to plant some trees to act as a barrier inside of the wood line, and I received a quote for some relatively mature white pines so that it wouldn't take too long for them to mature to the point where they block the visibility. And that quote was for $8,000. And my request is that the Prime Metals facility plant the trees under that quote to block the visibility from my home.
Okay.
Where would-
I am
where would-
actually,
Where would those trees be located?
okay, can you see the site now? So this is, I believe this is you, right, Matt, right here?
That's correct. That's me.
Okay, so this is Barnett Road. This is Matt. And this is where Prime Metals is located now. This is actually where IBA is located, and you can see their lot is a really weird shape. So it actually kind of extends between Mr. Gautreaux and the Prime Metals site. And this is forested wetland with a vernal pool, so this can't be touched. But you
That's
can
right.
see the edge of clearing is here, which if you do a rough measure, hold on, I gotta move this around. If you do a rough measure, kind of the edge of clearing to the lot is about 200, to the back of the lot is about 317 to the tree line, roughly. And then the building is located actually right about there is the line of the building. And this is all parking in there. So let me just, okay, so we're gonna stop sharing and then I'll just find you just one more document. So you can see the orange stripe. You can kind of see it in Mr. Gautreaux's photographs that he submitted. See the orange, oh, sorry, I gotta share it. You can see the orange stripe here on the building through the deciduous trees. And this is a little closer up. Again, it's that orange stripe right through there. So this forested wetland, as you can see, doesn't have a lot of coniferous trees. Okay. Matt, Pam, any luck?
I just sent you a message.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, Matt, Pam's going to tag you so you can share anything else you want to share.
Okay.
You just have
the
to
only other
accept.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to share was the proposal and the type of trees. And what I was proposing is to plant the trees inside of the protected wetland between, basically right inside of the tree line that's on my property. So I don't infringe on someone else's property or the wetlands.
Okay. All right, so it would definitely be up to the Conservation Commission whether they'd allow you to do that. And the only thing that they would be worried about, I'm sure, is just disturbing the root zone of those trees kind of behind your shed, right on the edge, and not, you know, damaging those. But, and I do have the proposal, I believe, so I can show you that if you would like.
Okay.
Let me just pull that up. Did you see the invite from Pam? So.
Is that coming through an email?
Nope, I just did it on the screen. You can try sharing now, I think.
Let me give it a shot. Oh, I can do it. Okay.
Yay.
All right. You see it?
Yep.
Yay, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so basically this line right here, oops, a little high. So right here, your picture was a lot better than mine, but right here is where the inside of the tree line would be, where I was proposing to plant the trees. And I'm more than happy to work with any commission necessary to see if that's acceptable to avoid disturbing something.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the picture you already saw, and this is the proposal right here.
So the only thing
And-
I noted about this is those are white pines, and white pines are, they're fine. They do a good job for probably the first 10 years, though you have to plant them very small, no more than 4 feet high usually to start for them to live. But once they get to about 15 to 20 years old, they lose all their understory coverage, and they'll start to drop the low limbs. So, and 14 is a lot. A mature tree needs a good 30 feet spread minimum between trees. So my thought was that you'd have more effectiveness either with Virginianus. Basically, it's a deer-proof arborvitae that starts at 5 to 6 feet and grows 1 to 3 feet a year, or with something like a spruce or a full ground coverage evergreen that can start at 5 to 6 feet high, grows slower than the Virginiana, but it maintains the to-ground coverage, where white pine will not maintain that ground coverage after about 15 years old.
Well, you certainly know a lot more about trees than I do, and and I'm certainly not married to the white pines, so that's definitely good suggestions. And I'm just looking for something that would, be a good block to the visibility in both winter and summer.
Yeah, the
And
pines do a great
Jen,
job for up to 15 years, and then they're lousy after that.
Jen, this is Mike Gagan. Could I ask Matt a question?
Sure. I'm not the chairman, so ask
Go
through
ahead.
him.
Oh, through the chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Matt, I just have a question. How high do you anticipate a tree would need to be to block out what you're looking to block? Is it 10
Let's
feet,
see.
15 feet, 20 feet, or what would be the?
So that's a good question. I'm just gonna throw some estimates out there because I'm not really sure. But looking at this picture here, you can see the shed, and then you can also see that the orange stripe is about 50% of the shed above it. So that's probably 15 to 20 feet. The rest of the building, it's gray. It kind of fades into the sky, so it's not really an issue. So I really just need something that's about this high, that reaches about this high to block to be good blockage. But of course, whatever we plant is going to grow taller than that.
Matt, we had talked that the developer had considered actually painting over that stripe the same color as the rest of the building. So if they chose to do that instead, if they were worried about the next neighbor and the next neighbor coming and asking for trees and just chose to eliminate the orange stripe, did you have thoughts on that?
I think that would be something we would be worth considering as well, because we did have this building in back of our house during the wintertime before the orange stripe, and it really wasn't too bad. It's just when the orange stripe came over that the real problem, that it became so noticeable.
Right.
Chairperson Wally,
Yes.
I'm happy to see that Prime Metals is more than willing to work with the neighbors and the abutters. And I think further discussions are going to be fruitful to make sure that the neighbors are happy. And if they choose to do the paint as opposed to the plants, we end up with neighbors that are happy with each other, which is most important. I think all we can do as a planning board is to bring the issue, and I'm happy that Prime Metals responded the way that they did. When it comes to the trees, we should have, if they do go with the tree option, we have to have that clause that makes sure we check it to make sure the trees don't die. Sometimes you can't plant pine trees in certain places for reasons that are beyond me. That's what an arborist does. So just the fact you pick a tree doesn't mean it's going to be healthy and grow there. So yeah, I think we've done all we can do as a planning board to make sure neighbors give us what their final plans are, to make sure the neighbor doesn't look at the orange stripe.
Mr. Chairman, I want to be clear. Obviously, Skinnell Development, who owns this building right now, would rather not do anything because they'd rather not spend any money. But in my discussions with Skinnell Development, they said, you know, they will await the board's finding. And if the board asks them to do something, they will do their best to comply with that. And one of their considerations would be getting rid of the orange stripe as opposed to planting trees because of that, not wanting to get stuck planting trees in everybody's yard if they come forward.
Okay.
So obviously they're business people, they're international business people. If they don't have to do anything, they'd rather not do anything because obviously there's no guarantee that you won't see a building in an abutting district. But they are willing to concede to whatever the board thinks is appropriate.
Okay. It would almost seem that probably the most effective method might be to just paint over the orange line as opposed to getting into what kind of trees we have and so forth and so on. And then we also have a wetland consideration back there. But that would generally be, at this point, this would be generally with the direction that I would be leaning in, but I'm willing to listen to certainly anyone else on the board. Michael.
Wally, yeah. Wally, I did drive by the property yesterday and looked at it as well. And I do see his concerns, but I also like the fact that Prime Metals is willing to maybe look at helping out the situation. But on the other hand, I feel like, was it a few years ago, we kind of voted on the color scheme as a board, or at least gave approval to it. I don't personally feel that we need to force Prime Metals' hands in this situation. If they want to be a good neighbor, certainly be nice to do, and certainly have shown that. I don't necessarily believe we as a board need to vote to kind of force their hand to do it. That's my opinion at this moment.
Scott.
Well, I have a question. So at this point, Matt, does that building have lights on the back of it around that parking lot that are visible from your property?
At this point, it does not, but my guess is that it will at some point.
Because typically we have conditions of approval that are around lighting, and if it's a problem, we can ask for adjustments on lighting and such like that. Typically, we don't do that for colors. This is the back of the building, so it may not be that important, but I tend to agree with Mike on that. The colors of buildings is not something we generally get involved in. But lighting we do. So I think I'd be more inclined to suggest this as a good neighbor handshake across the property line here on the part of Prime Metals.
Bob, do you have any comments?
No, I've already said mine.
Okay, Bill.
I took a drive behind Prime Metals. There's no lighting back there, but I don't remember if there were wall packs or I wasn't on the board maybe when Prime Metals, but I was certainly on the board when some of these buildings went in, and we made a big deal about no lights on the back, I don't think, so it wouldn't cut down on the visibility from Barnett Road.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I concur with Mike and Scott.
Okay. Now, listening to the reasoning for the Michael and Scott, I think I would probably take that position. This does look like a situation that hopefully could be resolved by the neighbors and amicable fashion without the planning board getting involved. It seems to me we did quite an extensive review of the lighting situation, which we usually do on any of the industrial properties when we pass this, didn't we, Jen?
Yeah, we usually do. So what I'm hearing, for the minutes, and so I can report back to Scanell if they are not on the call, is that the board will recommend to Scanell/Prime Metals that they seriously consider Mr. Gaucho's request to either eliminate the orange stripe and or work with him to install this coniferous plantings to block the view from his yard as a gesture of goodwill and good neighbors, but the board will not force them to do that.
Not tonight.
Unless there's a lighting issue. So you want me to check the lighting plan and see if there's lights going up?
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that.
Good.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Good luck.
Be happy
Okay.
to hear the neighbors are happy.
Okay.
Is there anybody from Scanell on the call? I don't see anybody. I do not see anybody. All right, I will put that
Okay.
in writing and to Scanell, and I will CC that to you, Mr. Gautreau, but I'll also send you over the plan and review that for lighting on the back of the building as well.
And
Okay.
thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for being part of the process. Good job.
Matt, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I just wanted to say too, I mean, don't leave this meeting thinking that it's not gonna happen. I mean, I do believe that they'll probably reach out, hopefully, and, continue the discussions with this.
Let us know it doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your guys' help to begin with. So, and I'll be in touch, Jennifer, so I can get some contact information for Scanell.
Sure, and just before you go, Matt, can you just hit stop share?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. Should be stop sharing now.
Okay, you're good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, guys.
Take care.
Okay, the next item we have is Gilmore Drive, and as-built and approval and bond reduction.
We've got a little bit more work to do on that, so we're going to table that to your next meeting.
Okay, excellent. The item after that is 219 Whitens Road, and then as-built approval / bond release.
Okay, this is Mr. Windle. So let me share that with you. So we have the as-built plan, and I'm going to share that with you. So this plan has been updated to include all the drainage and addressed Graves engineering comments. One of the things that was left to be done is this pond up here on the north end. When they finished the parking lot and the landscaping, this pond up here got full of a whole bunch of silt. So Graves Engineering said they were not going to sign off until Mr. Windle got into this pond and got it back down to the original elevation and cleaned out the riprap on the entry pipe and the overflow here and here. So that has been accomplished, and you have an email from Graves Engineering saying they are all set with the as-built now and the site site visit in terms of the site being complete. So we have either two motions or one joint motion, basically to approve the as-built plan dated, I don't know, I don't think that's the right date actually. The most recent as-built plan, and to here, let me just look at that. Viewed the as-built plan, found it to be in order, and site visit report he gave you and showed you the sediment removal right here. All right, so that shows all the sediment and the new clean riprap. So we just need a motion to approve the most recent as-built plan and a motion to release the bonding being held on this site.
I'll make both those motions.
So you want them as one? Approve as-built,
Do both.
approve as-built and release bond.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Do we have any
Paul?
comments, Michael?
Well, I did visit that site yesterday as well, and I thought it looked like the pictures very cleaned up, and I thought it looked pretty good. So.
Great.
Who's responsible for that retainage drainage basin? That's his responsibility.
The site will be maintained in ownership of Windle. So they'll just have to maintain that ongoing. They did file for an order of conditions and received, a notice of intent and received an order of conditions from conservation that stipulates the maintenance schedule for that pond. So Concom, because that's adjacent to a wetlands, is supposed to be making sure they're complying with the maintenance plan of the basin.
And if he doesn't and it backs up and fills up, then he has a problem on his property.
He does, and he'll also get an enforcement order from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
Bill?
No questions.
I don't have any questions on here, and they've come a long way down there in the last 6 months in terms of what I call appearance and landscaping, et cetera. 6 months ago, it was not too pleasant, but Michael, if you drive by today, it looks good, I'd say.
Well, it looks like.
Yeah. Progress has been made.
And congratulations to Chris Wendell. He did a good job.
Yes.
The landscaper, besides now being a builder, so he knows how it works, and he did a good job. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess we'll have a vote. Wally Baker votes yes. Michael?
Mike Egan, yes.
Bill Talcott?
Bill Talcott, yes.
Scott Paul?
Yes.
Bob Largis?
Aye.
Okay. Vote passes 5-0-0.
Good job.
Yeah, good. Okay, so a couple more items here. We have the minutes from August 3rd, 2020. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review them.
Bob Largis, I make a motion that we accept the minutes. I find it they're in their entirety correct.
A second, please.
I second that. Bill Talcott.
Okay, good. Any conversation with regard to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Wally Baker votes yes. Michael Gagan,
Mike Egan, yes.
Bill Talcott,
Bill Talcott, yes.
Scott Paul,
Yes.
Bob Largis.
Yes.
Excellent. The minutes pass 5-0-0. Now we seem to have a filing.
Yes, we
For
have a
trees.
resident who's made a filing, a scenic roadway shade tree application. They need to open their driveway a little bit more. I think it's 4 to 5 feet at 480 Boston Road. They don't have an adequate swing right now in the existing break. So they have made an application to just increase the size of that opening a little bit. And that will be heard at your next meeting, I believe on the 31st. If not the 31st, it will be September 14th. But I believe it's the 31st.
Okay.
So I just need you to acknowledge that legal filing.
Acknowledged.
Acknowledged.
Awesome. And there is no correspondence for this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:13 p.m.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Who
Okay.
was the second? Scott?
Yes.
Getting good, Wally.
Yes.
All those well, I guess we can't do it that way, can we? Wally Baker votes yes. Michael Gagan,
Mike Egan, yes.
Bill Talcott,
Aye.
Scott Paul,
Aye.
Bob Largis.
Aye. Good night.
It's 5-0-0. Thank you,
Yay.
gentlemen. Thank you,
All
Jen.
right. Good night, all.
Good night, all.
Good night.